Hello, this is Roy Anderson from MetaProcure. Thank you for joining us on this collaboration and partnership meeting. I'm here with Paul McGowan, who is the Director of Procurement for Boston College. Welcome, Paul.
Thanks, Roy. Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate you taking the time. Paul, we all have worked for a lot of years in procurement, and we realize just how important it is to be able to have a procurement operation that is not only efficient and effective, but actually starts to reach out to internal customers to create that collaboration and partnership, because what I have found is that the internal customer is taking all the risk. They're the individuals that when they take on a new supplier based upon our recommendation, that have to make sure that supplier is performing, and if there's any errors, it turns out the internal customer is the one that has the risk. They're the one that are responsible for delivering. So having a clear collaboration plan, partnership with these internal customers makes all the difference in the world. So Paul, we asked you in here to be able to talk a little bit about that whole concept, and we have a slide here from the Speaker of the House, Tip O'Neill, former Speaker of the House. So what do you think about this slide?
First of all, Roy, thanks for having me, but having a Bostonian like Tip O'Neill say you need to make friends, you have to make friends before you need them is so true. When I came to Boston College, you usually don't do this in business, but I did it here. For the first 6 months I was here, I went out and visited all my customers, and I didn't say a damn thing to them. All I did was listen to them. I listened, I heard what their problems and issues were, and I went back and I started to take those issues and try to see if I could figure out how to help them. And as we went along and helped them, I also gathered some trust. So when you start building trust with people and your customers, it makes for all the difference in the world.
Well, is there a difference, Paul, when you talk to different groups between the AP function or the finance function, your auditors, legal versus your line of business, the people in admissions or athletics that you're actually doing it for? Is there a different level of discussion that you have with the line of business than you would have with the audit team and the legal team?
Absolutely, Roy. The line of business is out there trying to make things happen, and whether it's sales for a particular group, but here it's about servicing the students and making sure the students are happy and educating them and making sure that all their activities are moving along and they have a great 4 or 6 years, depending upon if they're graduate students or not. So it's very important that you basically do treat people differently, the departments differently. You really have to get down to when you're talking about the academic side of the house, whether it's with athletics or with the provost office or with admissions, you have to be really specific and you have to deliver with them. I'm not saying that with the operational side that you don't have to be as conscious about what you're doing, but on the student side and the provost side, you have to be on your game and you have to deliver.
Now, Paul, you've done some amazing things at Boston College, and you've told us some stories in terms of the work that you've done with athletics, and that's always an area that the major schools with large sports programs, the procurement teams are looking to get into. So what are the special things that you've done with the athletics groups that created that collaboration and partnership?
Well, first off, Roy, you have to find a project that basically you can add value to it. And when I first got here, it was actually the ticketing system. We had just started looking at a ticketing system, and we decided on Patiolan. And I was able to show some value regarding that. So after getting past that first kind of project, we actually moved into a couple of other projects, one being sponsorship for the athletic teams in terms of their uniforms. We actually had Reebok International servicing our athletic department. They covered 4 teams, and they gave us a small sponsorship stipend. We actually had 31 teams here, Roy, and we were looking for a lot more sponsorship money to come in. I was able to go out and put together a comparative analysis about how all the schools and what type of deals they were receiving from the likes of Nike and Under Armour and Adidas and New Balance, to name a few. And I was able to show the athletic department and the athletic director that we really should go out and compete this and put it on the table. Once they saw the data, they moved forward and said, yeah, let's do this. And I really, really helped out in terms of putting the strategy together and helping them drive this to a conclusion. They turned around and they did award to Under Armour. It's a multi-year deal. It covers all of our sports teams, and there is a nice sponsorship package that goes along with it. Since then, they have called me on multiple projects, scoreboards, whether it's with the hockey program or the baseball team or whatever. We've actually done a whole bunch of different strategic sourcing projects for them.
That's great, and it starts to build upon itself. But one of the things that you mentioned I thought was really good is the fact that you can't just go in there and say, hi, I'm here, let me start working with you. You actually have the data, comparisons, market information, something that they don't have. So you're actually bringing something to the table that is of value, and that's a really good starting point to make sure that they realize that you're just not hanging on for the ride, but you're going to actually be able to drive and support their efforts and give them some value add through the data.
Roy, I'm glad you brought that up. It's one of the key items that sourcing and procurement people need to do. You need to come to the table prepared. That's one side, but if you come prepared to the table and you have some data that's of value and it can make a difference, that's where they start to really listen to you. And it's not just in these strategic sourcing projects that you do. If you go into the provost office and sit down with the provost, you better have your game together and you better have data that's going to make a difference so that you can actually help them make decisions. So I've tried to do that all along. I'm successful most of the time. Sometimes you just don't have enough and the conversation goes a different way. But the mere fact that they're inviting you back again and again means I'm on the right track.
That's excellent. Now, some of the areas in terms of collaboration that you talked is that it's not just one team, but now you're working on an arrangement which brings all the teams together. Now, I'm also, I figured that you had to bring some other departments into this too, in terms of this holistic view of the activity. Were there other departments that came along with the athletic groups in order to make this deal happen?
Definitely, Roy. I even have a better example of that, but on the athletic side, you always have to bring legal into it. There's no question about it. And then on the facility side, even though these were sports uniforms, when you start talking about sponsorship, you're talking about sponsorship that affects our facilities and putting up signage, you name it. There's a whole bunch of different things that go along with it. So, yes. But I think this is just a recent example that brought a whole bunch of different players together. I was in my AP department the other day, a couple of months ago, and I noticed that the check run hadn't printed for the day, and I was asking a lot of questions why that hadn't occurred. And they said that the garnishments, we're having problems with our garnishments. And I said, we do garnishments out of AP? And the more I checked into it, I found out that, yes, we did. So I actually got the parties together that HR, legal, who's got a huge risk in this in terms of understanding the garnishments and what needs to happen in every state to do garnishments, our controllers group, our tax people, procurement, and AP, we're all in a room. And we said, this is crazy what we're doing. We need to outsource this. And within probably 3 or 4 weeks, we did the due diligence in terms of the numbers and the risk factors, and we came to a decision, and we just outsourced it this past week. So it was a real group effort of everyone putting their heads together and saying, we can do this a little bit differently.
You know, I love the story when these things start to come together, because what other group actually brings this size, this level of discussion and collaboration across so many areas of the university to create a successful outcome? And I find that the procurement team, because they are aware of all the people inside the company, inside the university, that know where the money is, know where the decision makers are, because they've gone through it over and over again, are the perfect team to be able to create this holistic solution and move people together because they all have to be part of the decision.
Roy, that's why our jobs are the best. I keep on saying that we have the most fun because we're not just locked into just doing one thing and pushing purchase orders and everything else. We have definitely changed, and I know almost every person on campus now. It is a community here at Boston College, and I suspect that it is at all of these other higher ed institutions, and it's so much fun to get to know everyone. And once you get to know everyone and you actually show that you're trying to help and make things better, they listen to you, and you have a great time doing it. And you can actually lead some of these. You would think garnishments would come out of HR, but it was actually us leading this particular one. And I do have a number of different stories about how I usually try to bring something to the people, to my customer, and say, hey, have you looked at something like this, and let them run with it, because it's better for the internal customer to actually own it. I'm not concerned about it. I just want to be a part of that team and push the ideas and push the advancement forward.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. That's one of the best jobs in the world, and you can have a lot of fun doing this type of work. That's wonderful. Now, one of the other pieces of the pie that comes into this is credit. So we have a couple of quotes here from Harry Truman and Irving Thalberg, and the first one being, it's amazing what you can accomplish if you do not care who gets the credit. And second is, credit you give yourself is not worth having. So how does credit fit into this?
Well, I'm sorry, Roy, I didn't even know this chat was coming up. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, that it really does not matter. You really do want the internal customer taking credit for it, because in most cases it's their budget and it's their decision, business decision. So in a lot of ways, procurement, strategic sourcing is not there to take it and run with it and say, look what we did. It's about collaborating with your internal customer and giving them some valuable tools and choices to go make the decisions that they need to actually become one of the better departments, not so much even in Boston College, but in the institutions of higher ed, and say, we're the leaders in this particular area. So we're not up, my group, they were pretty grounded before I even came here, but I think I've just given it a little bit more in the sense that we're here to help you, and you know, you take it and you run with it, but tell us how we can help you if we're not heading in the right direction. So that's how we've handled it so far.
That's great. It is really important for every procurement group to fully understand what the internal customer's point of view is, because they've been working really hard to get their spend under control or to be diligent with how they spent their budgets. And they really don't want somebody from the outside come walking in and saying, well, I'm going to make a difference and change the way you do things, and I'm going to be able to show savings to the chief financial officer. And the internal customer starts saying, well, hold on, buddy, you don't know all the history, the politics, how we get here, and I don't want you making me look bad. And then having me handle the risk after you walk away. It really is important that, one, your internal customer who's taking the risk gets all the credit for this, and that you, as a procurement group, are adding value, that you're a supportive partner in the structure, you bring in collaboration from other areas of the organization, and at the end of the day, that team gets all the credit. And what I find, and it was actually a quote from Ted Kennedy that says, when things go well, there's plenty of credit for everyone. When things go poorly, it's one of those things that you have to sit there and go, hey, procurement, you take responsibility, you'll be better off. Go ahead.
Roy, that is so true. It's the perfect example here is every university has libraries that are very powerful, and we have worked our way in there, and we saw that there was definitely a way in terms of how they buy all the subscriptions to all the magazines around the world that we could do a better job on it. And we went in and we basically said, let's really be competitive in this, let's be strategic, and collaboratively we got together and we came up with some ideas on how to how to do something that was different from the past 50 years that they've been buying these subscription services. And let me tell you, they have run with this. We saved a ton of money with it. We went from 3 major companies down to 2. We never thought it would happen. They are running with it and saying, look at what we're doing, and things are happening for them, and we're very happy for them. They've asked us to help them on a couple other things since then, so it does work.
It does. Giving that credit is wonderful. So, Paul, we're going to be spending a little time at NAEP coming up in Orlando with a concurrent session to talk a little bit about what it takes to create that collaboration and partnership. What are the nuances that come to each different group between accounts payable and legal and finance, facilities, athletics, and each of the departments. So we're going to have a workshop, and we invite you all to that workshop so that we can spend some time having real live examples and solutions that each person can walk away with. So this is Roy Anderson. I'm from MetaProcure. Our goal here is to help groups and give them Fortune 50 procurement capability across the board. I look forward to working with you. Paul, I look forward to seeing you down in Orlando, and I really want to thank you for spending some time with us today.
Thanks, Roy. I really enjoyed talking with you and look forward to talking to the rest of the universities and colleges down in Orlando.
All right. Thank you very much. You have a great day.
You too.